It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome in to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 102 today. Really glad that you were with us. We've been waiting all week for you, 167 hours since the last show ended. We kept counting down the hours and the minutes and the seconds, and by golly, you are here, we are here, ready to go for episode 102. The pool is clean, ready to go, the hot tub is fired up, the grill is going full bore, everything you can imagine cooking right now. Fruits and vegetables off to the right, cold drinks off to the left, hot drinks inside, cigar bar toward the back left corner of the pool area. And we also have extra towels, extra suntan lotion, extra chairs. Just settle in for the next hour. Clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. Well, on today's show, we'll have part 2 of my interview with Dave and Diane from Serenity Mountain Retreat, all about their upcoming music festival in the month of August. We will talk to Lisa Monroe and reminisce a little bit about the singers we had in for episode 100. And we'll have a reading from consultant Vlad. And then part 1 of my interview with Alice Dvit. She is the current president for the New Zealand Naturists Federation, doing a great job down there. So we'll talk to her today and again next week. Well, again, episode 102, Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Now let's get to part 2 of my interview with Dave and Diane from Serenity Mountain Retreat. Why do you think that happened so quickly for you? After spending all those years, no one seeing me naked, period, and suddenly, hey, here I am. What do you think?
I think what it was is seeing somebody who was not of a, how society says women need to look.
Okay.
And that woman was so happy with herself. And, I think that's what every person, man, woman, that's what every person wants, is to be comfortable in their own skin with who they are. Nobody looks like anybody else.
Right.
Nobody. I mean, we all have scars. We all have things, whatever it is. And I think that's important, to be able to just be comfortable with yourself. And so that was just really special to me. And that I've always thanked Serenity for that, is for giving me that confidence in myself.
That's very well said. Dave, how about yourself? How did you discover naturism?
Well, I've been a closet nudist for years. Years ago, in about, I would say 2003, I played in a bluegrass band, and the band was hired to come up to Serenity Mountain Retreat and play in their music festival. Mm-hmm. And I didn't live too far away, maybe 45 minutes. And we came up. My wife was in the band. My wife at the time, she's my ex now, was in the band, and we came up there. And I just fell in love with the place. And I said, you want to go back as guests? And she was game. And we showed up and just fell in love with the place, joined that same year. And I've been coming here ever since.
Okay, I've got to say something. Oh my God. You were a closet nudist. Isn't it nice to come out of the closet and have so much more room to get around, huh, Dave?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It just felt so good. Just felt so good and freeing. You just can't describe how it feels to all of a sudden lose all of those inhibitions and be completely comfortable in your own skin, as you put it, Diane.
Yeah.
I think after this music festival is over, you should organize a comedy night, and Diane will be your lead comic. What do you think?
Comedian is not a bad idea.
I'm more irritating than funny.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Well, this is great. Again, we're talking to Diane and Dave from Serenity Mountain Retreat. Big music festival this summer, August 7 to 10. And Dave, put out the website again. Tell people how they can get a hold of you and sign up, and if they want to be a vendor too, right?
Yes, we also have vendors. You visit our website, www.serenitymountainretreat.org. That's all one word. follow the link to the music festival, and you will find 2 registration forms, one for to attend the festival and one for vendors. And again, if questions, 1-800-375-6803, and choose option 3 if you have questions about the music festival, or you can email us, serenitymtretreat@gmail.com.
All right. Diane, how about you? Any last words of wisdom or advice or comedic value for our listeners as to why they should show up for this music festival?
You know, if you want to have a good time, come up for the music festival. It is so much fun. You did ask about, I need to comment on this, about the bands being naked. The bands aren't naked, no. The intimacy we have with the bands, being such a small group, is so much fun. And, you know, a lot of the bands, some of them are new. They've never been to a nudist place before. This is their first experience, and they're standing on stage looking out, trying to figure out where to put their eyes.
Right.
But after the first set, they get comfortable, and then it's just magic. It really is. You really get to be part of it. And then dancing naked under the stars, you just can't beat it.
You can't beat it. Now, if a band or even a band member wanted to perform nude, that would be
They can.
allowed. Yeah, they just choose not to.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've had a couple of band members come close, but it rarely happens that then they get completely naked.
But they
The other
do.
thing I want to say, yeah, sometimes. The other thing I want to say about this is most of the people who attend this festival are members of local nudist clubs and people that we know. It feels more like a party among friends than it does a music festival where you know nobody else at the venue.
That's right. Yeah.
And so that degree of intimacy and the enthusiasm that the crowd always displays towards the music and towards the dancing is infectious, and bands love that. They just eat that up. And so it's just such an intimate and closely personal experience for people that people come back year after year after year.
And our light guys, our sound and light guys, oh my gosh.
Really? All right.
This is not a flashlight spotlight place. No.
Yeah.
These lights, the light backline production, is that right, Dave? I always get it wrong.
Backline Productions, these guys, Rick and Patrick,
Oh
do
my
an
gosh.
amazing job. They build an entire superstructure over the stage. They have professional lights. Their sound system is killer, and they have just upgraded the festival by an order of magnitude. So
Absolutely.
so that I want to give a shout out to Backline Productions for the incredible work they do.
Yeah, and the first year they came, it was like, okay, you're not hiring anybody else. We're coming back every year, and every year they're better. And yeah, it's quite the event.
Well, I wish I lived out that way. I'm at the other side of the other side of the country, so I won't be able to make it. But
Oh, hey, they have airplanes that fly.
that's true. I heard
They
that
go
rumor
from
as
one
well.
place to the other. We'll pick you
Well,
up.
Well, yeah, and the last music festival, we had a couple drive all the way from Florida to attend this festival.
Well, there you go. That's where I'm at. Well, one of these days, I can't make it this year, but one of these days we just might have to do that. And we want everyone to check it out. The music festival, August 7 through 10, Serenity Mountain Retreat. We've been talking to Diane and Dave. Diane, go out there and have a great close-free day. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you very much. Had a great time.
Thank you. And Dave, same to you. Great to talk to both of you. Dave, go out there and have a great close-free day as well. We'll talk again soon.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Have a great day. Thank you. The very terrific Dave and Diane from the Serenity Mountain Retreat, nudist resort out in Oregon. Andy Rogers was the president there for a while. Now she's president of the entire Northwest region. Same community, same exact resort. Check out their big music festival in August, and all of the information is in the show notes. And we thank Dave and Diane from the Serenity Mountain Retreat for all of their time on these last 2 shows. Well, you are listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 102 today. We thank you very much for being with us. We really enjoy this time together, and we know that you do too, so let's just keep her moving here. And I don't know about you, but I think I hear some music in the background. Do you hear it? Yes, it can only mean one thing. It's time for the great, the terrific, the completely over-the-top, fully clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. here she is, the one and only, the completely clothes-free, completely smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
I'm doing terrific, Frank. How about yourself?
Not bad. You look
Good.
extra smiley today. Something going on we should know about?
No, it's just been a good week. And, it's getting a little warmer, so it's easier to get out and, maybe not do a lot because it's getting really hot already. but it's just been a good week.
Yes, it's one of those, not only one of those weeks, but this period of the year where we live, I want to go outside and just work for 10 hours, busting tail, trimming trees, trimming bushes, and I go out there and it's so hot. It's like, oh, shoot, now I'm forced to go swimming all day. But I'll get over it. I'll recover somehow.
It's just so sad, so very sad. But
the things we deal with.
The price we pay.
Yeah,
for, somebody has to live here,
That's right.
Yeah, it does get awfully freaking humid. So it's just, you learn to live with it and you learn to pace yourself and you learn to do things outside early, like walking. You don't walk now at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. You walk at 6 or 7 in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
And then sometimes it's even hot. So,
yeah, once the sun makes its appearance, it's pretty much over. It gets hot instantly and gets hotter, and then you're cooked. I mean, maybe literally if you're not careful. So,
very much so. So, but we enjoy it.
All right. Well, why don't we dive right in to our Patreon peeps, our PPPs. We have a Patreon page. Everybody knows why. We gave up paid work to do this show. We're trying to make expenses, and you guys have been terrific on this. And we have a couple of PPPs to add to the list today. Lisa Monroe, who do we have?
That PPPs just always makes me smile. I don't know why. But anyway, that is a great group of people. But Scott and Johnny have now joined the PPP ranks.
All right.
And we appreciate it very much.
Yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am to you, and yes, sir to Scott, and yes, sir to Johnny.
Yes.
Make sure I got that straight. We appreciate you, gentlemen, very much. Thank you. For joining the crowd and being one of our PPPs here. We appreciate that very much. And you can join as well. Just go to patreon.com, find us, Naked Nudists and Naturists. It's also the very first thing you'll find on any episode out there. When you're listening in podcast land like you are right now, right at the top of the description in the show notes, there it is, the link to Patreon page. And we hope you join us today. How about merchandise? How are we doing there?
Well, we added a new line of merchandise, and that's with our slogan that's become rather popular: clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. And it's done incredibly well, especially the coffee mug. Everybody seems to really love the coffee mug. It's white with our logo and everything on it, and with that saying on it. And it's a good way to remind yourself every morning when you drink coffee that clothes-free living is the way to go.
Yeah, that's very true. As if we needed a reminder, right?
Oh, not really, but but it's kind of nice, just have your coffee up there and reiterate how you feel about what you're doing and how much you enjoy it. So there's some other items too, and I'm adding 2 or 3 more. I just didn't have time to get them done before our 100th episode, but there'll be a full line of the clothes-free living for all of the right reasons merch, as well as the Naked Nudists and Naturists and the NNN merch.
All right. As we like to say around here, no scientific proof yet, but we think coffee, pretty much any beverage, tastes better in a Naked Nudist and Naturist coffee mug. Do you agree with that still?
I certainly do.
Yeah.
And I just got my new one and I like it a lot.
All right. Could be psychological, could just be us totally being silly and ridiculous, but what the heck, let's go with it until we're proven otherwise. How's that sound?
Works for me.
Okay. Well, it's been a couple of weeks now. It's episode 102, a couple of weeks since our 100th celebratory blowout that went on for 57,000 hours and 29 seconds. We had a great time. We're still getting feedback on that. As people listen to it, because not everybody listened to all 4 hours, or almost all 4 hours at once. They're kind of spacing it out, and they're just getting to some of the segments. And a lot of the feedback we've gotten is on the music, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But specifically the vocalists who came in here, a bunch of, you wouldn't on purpose go organize a cast of characters like that. We pretty much took who was ever available just to answer that question. It's not like we went out there and found these guys specifically to fulfill roles like you would do, in a normal situation. We just said, who's available? Come on in. Did you get any feedback on anybody in particular? I know I did. I'll share it, but you go first.
Well, I a couple of those guys were people I knew
Yeah,
before, and they had
right.
done this kind
Yeah.
of thing at different gatherings. For a couple of those songs were for people's birthdays, and that was all done in really good fun. So they've had that. I've gotten feedback from them. They had a blast, and they think it was a lot of fun. And I got it. Oh, could we do that again? And I'm saying, well, yeah, just chill, buddy. We'll see. But from the people that I know who heard it, and then from the reports that we've gotten, the messages and stuff, people really enjoyed it. I don't think they were expecting that, but this was for us a celebration, something important. So we thought it would be a lot of fun to share some things that were different and frivolous and funny and fun.
Yeah. Well, actually forgot to tell you. So this will be new news for you, and I apologize for that.
Oh,
Your buddy, which one do you know better, Bob or Hank? They're brothers, the two really big guys. Which one do you know well?
I actually know Bob better.
Okay. Well, he called me. I don't know. Did he tell you he called me?
No.
Oh, okay. I meant to tell you. Sorry about that. And but he called and wanted to clarify. The song they did, "I Don't Look Good Naked Anymore." He said it was supposed to be a spoof because in naturism, everybody looks good naked. He just wanted to make sure we got that point across. He was sorry he didn't make it clear. And I thought, as I told him, it's fine. Everybody was fine with it. If anybody has a problem with it, you can't please all the people all the time. You're always going to have one, two, or three people who just look for stuff and try to create havoc. And so we're fine with it. But he wanted to make that clear. It's not that I don't look good naked anymore, because that's a physical impossibility, because everybody looks good naked in the world of naturism. Did he say anything about that to you?
No, he didn't. But that song came out of someone's 50th birthday party.
Oh.
And so it was done as a joke that he now turned 50, and well, it's over, for him. But it was done at a naturist gathering, so it wasn't like anyone was upset or anything. Everybody absolutely loved it. So you got to keep the right mindset about things. The second that you start to nitpick and look for things, like you said, not everything is going to please everyone, and we don't attempt to please everyone.
No.
We attempt to do what we think is fun and informative and entertaining, and so there we are. But anyway, but no, they had fun. But I don't think anyone should ever take any of those things seriously, because they were all done in fun.
Yeah, very much so. And I remember in the world of comedy, because most of comedy is, let's admit it, putting something down or putting something down. Like, you ever notice all wives do, and then they have jokes about wives, or a woman comedian, my husband, and then she'll 55 jokes on her husband.
Yeah.
And Jerry Seinfeld, who's one of the leading comedians of all time in terms of popularity and wealth and everything else, he said, we're destroying comedy if we keep going down this road about I'm offended. He goes, well, then I guess we don't have any more comedy, and maybe no more spoof songs like that. But we're not of that ilk. We're just having fun.
That's right.
But Bob wanted to make that clear, rather than come in and deal with it like he normally deals with things. Apparently, did you know about that about him? That he just short conversations, maybe no conversation, arguments finished in 2 seconds.
Yes, he's a pretty no nonsense kind of guy, but with a great sense of humor. I mean, he's in his line of work. Things move quickly, and he has to make decisions quickly. So he's kind of honed that conversation thing down to yes, no, whatever. And here's my thoughts. Go on. What's your thoughts? And that's the end of that. But they love to do these parodies, and it's just been a lot of fun. So I've enjoyed being around them.
Yeah, I guess he explained to me. I sort of knew this, but I didn't know the whole thing. Bob in particular is a big wheel at the local karaoke bar. Like every night, 7 nights a week, he sings there. And he said, people tend to get out of my way when I come in. Somebody hands me the mic. Well, yeah, when you're 6'7", 440, and you say, give me the mic, that tend to what happened. And you've been there before when he's done this?
No, actually, I have not been to the karaoke, although I understand that is a very big thing. But some of these people at the naturist gatherings I used to go to haven't been in a while, but they love to do karaoke as well. So I've heard that happen there. And just a great fun group of people who don't take themselves seriously, like you said. We can't take ourselves seriously, and suddenly you can't even breathe about something. There's no more, Richard Pryor, or there's no more anyone like that that actually is funny, but makes fun of things and people. It's I don't know. I'm just really tired of the political correctness.
Oh, well,
That we are should be correct and respectful, but
Mhm.
political correctness and respect have nothing to do with each other. We've
Right. Yeah.
taken that far too far.
Yeah. I mean, you don't go out of your way. I don't mean you, but
No, no
comedians
one.
in general, you don't go out
Yeah.
there to attack people.
No,
You're just having fun. So
no. That's
I
right.
also got a lot of emails about Don. He did "Turn on Your Heart Light" and helped with a
Mm-hmm.
couple other songs. And a lot of people thought the Joe Cocker reference was pretty accurate too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually kind of liked him.
Yeah.
I thought his voice was really kind of grumbly and in that kind of, that kind of Joe Cocker way. And I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, and then, let's not forget Andre, because if we do, he'll be calling us to say, "Hey, you forgot me." And okay, Andre, we didn't forget you. He was a bit over the top, and when you're sitting that close to an opera singer and he's singing, you can almost feel your hair blowing backward.
Yes,
Just
there's
off
something about the power of that voice. It's like going to your first professional tennis match and you've been playing, with the locals, and all of a sudden you see how fast that ball really, and the tennis ball really goes, and the
Yeah.
power behind it. So that's kind of a real difference between the two. But he was fun and he was funny, and that's that the very French in him, but but I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, and of course we had Sammy and Elvis, and I guess we should tell people, to be clear, that was not really Sammy Davis Jr. and it wasn't really Elvis Presley. We probably ought to put that out there.
We probably should. And we have, we can do a lot of things, but conjuring up people like that is a little difficult. None of those skill sets yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, my guess is we probably never will acquire that skill set, but
No.
just having a lot of fun, and we'll do some more. And if anybody, we had a couple people inquire about, could we do more of that? And I wrote back and said, well, if you can come up with some lyrics to a popular song, and they don't have to knock themselves out. These guys certainly didn't. They just got naked, nude a couple of times, and it worked.
Exactly.
Send them in, and I'll ask the guys if they want to come in. And if so, we're not opposed to it. But I don't know if they have the time to write lyrics to a billion songs. If anybody wants to do that, send in the lyrics, and maybe your preferred choice of vocalist.
Yes.
We'll see if they're available, and go from there. So maybe we'll have more of that down the road.
And it would be fun, I think. And I know they'd enjoy it a lot. So,
Yeah.
and hopefully everybody else would too. But, this is all about having fun. I think one of the things that 100 episode taught us was we have fun doing the show. Is looking back on the people that were on and the people who sent in messages and all. We just had a lot of fun, and during these past several weeks, many weeks,
Yeah.
and I think that's just what we want to do: is everyone to learn things, to feel good about what they're doing, and to enjoy themselves along the way.
Mm-hmm. I want to get to an article that was printed on Reddit, and it's by Vlad. He's big on Twitter. Consultant Vlad. He sends us a lot of articles that he writes, puts on Reddit, and we'll probably only have time for one of them today, and maybe we'll save another one for next week or the week after. He's also written some music, and we'll play some of his music down the road, as well as the music of somebody else. And I'm going to keep that person as a mystery because it's somebody everybody knows if they listen to this show, who's also written music, and we'll put it out there in a few weeks. But he wrote an article called "The Blessing of the Obvious: Why Mystery Fuels Porn." Now, before we get into that, I have a theory here that we were born naked, and that's how we were intended to be. God could have had us born, as I said before, in evening gowns and pantsuits and tuxedos and wingtip shoes and everything else, but he didn't. He chose to have us naked. We throw clothes on, but there's an inner desire to get back to naked. We might not even be aware of it at the conscious level. And since society tells us we can't do that, we try to fulfill that need other ways. Hey, here's a magazine with a naked guy or woman. And hey, here's some videos with naked people. And before you know it, you're addicted to this whole porn thing, rather than go back to our basic needs. And I've had situations before, Lisa, where I start feeling hungry, but I can't think of anything that would satiate me. What if I try? And it turns out what I really need is a glass of water. We need water to keep us going. I missed the obvious and maybe ate something I shouldn't have, didn't fulfill the need. I either got sick or put weight on, then eventually, oh, I need water. Well, I think that's what this is too. Oh, I need to be naked. And then we stay away from that stuff. If you don't mind, can you read the first paragraph or so from
Okay.
Vlad, Consultant Vlad?
Mystery is the devil's candy. It's why we're glued to pornography like moths to a neon sign. The half-hidden, teasing glimpse, the what's next, that's the fuel. A shadowy curve on a screen, Obsession City. A real naked person standing in front of you scratching their nose, not so much. Obscurity breeds curiosity, and curiosity is the match that lights the fire of lust. Screens thrive on it, dangling just enough to keep us hooked, imagining the rest. But here's the blessings of the obvious. When everything's out in the open, the spell breaks. No more guessing, no more fantasizing, just a human, unfiltered, probably with bad breath or weird laugh. Porn's power isn't in the explicitness, it's in the mystery of it preserves. The blurry bits, the suggestive cuts, the digital distance that lets your brain run wild.
All right, and then I'll continue on. Face to face, well, that's a reality check. You can't fetishize someone who's asking you to pass the salt. Texting's the same trap. Two words get twisted into a soap opera because the screen hides the smirk that would have cleared it up. In person, the obvious reigns. You see the eye roll, you hear the tone, and the mystery is kaput. That's the cure. Ditch the screen, strip away the shadows, and let the mundane save us. Real life is not sexy. It's better. It's boringly, blessedly obvious, and that's why it works. And that's from Consultant Vlad, and we appreciate him very much for sending that in. And we'll get to more of his articles next week or the week after that, as well as some of his music. And he's true. And what he says is true. You strip away either the clothes or the mystery or the tee-hees or the ahas, and it's just you and it's just me, and we're having a good time, right?
Very much so. And, we've had several guests on who have found themselves going down that addiction to porn path. And then once they discovered naturism and its truth, then that vanished from them, that need vanished from them. And again, I think he's right. It's the mystery of it. Once the mystery is solved, then you just go about your life the way it should be gone about, and that's naked.
Yeah, just have your glass of water, just have your clothes off, and all of the junk goes away. You don't reach for the candy bar or the bag of chips. You don't reach for the porno tape or magazine. You just enjoy life as we were intended to enjoy it, right?
Very much so. And I think he's expressed that whole situation quite well and how we should look at it.
All right. Well, before we let you go, any big plans for yourself this week? Any naked plans, I should say?
Well, naked as often as possible, as I'm
Right.
sure you will be. And, just a lot of work still to do and a lot of work here for the show and some other things that I have to do. So it's going to be a busy week.
Yeah. I thought about going grocery shopping with no clothes on, but then I quickly thought better of it, and so I'm not going to do that. But who knows? Maybe one of these days you'll read about me in the paper.
Yeah, well, let's hope that's not how we read about you in the paper. And
true.
Besides, you're going to expect bail money from me. I know.
That's true, yeah. And by the way, that is a joke. We do not
Yes.
encourage that. Do not try that. It will probably not end well.
No.
And with that, Lisa Monroe, we're going to let you go for now, but you'll be here at the end of the show, right?
I sure will be.
All right. Have a great naked, clothes-free half hour or so. We'll see you in a bit.
All righty.
All right. The very terrific Lisa Monroe as she goes dancing on out of the studio. But she'll be back at the end. Hopefully she's just getting coffee and she will return. But we appreciate Lisa Monroe for all that she does around here. As a reminder, we are the official podcast for the American Association for Nude Recreation. Are you a member of AANR? If so, great! But if not, you can become one right away. Just go to AANR.com, click on the navigation through membership, and within moments you will become a member, and just like the two of us, Lisa and myself. How about that? Well, you're listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 102 today. Thank you very much for being with us. Now let's get to part one of my interview with Alice Dvit, the current president for the New Zealand Naturists Federation. We are headed down to New Zealand today. We're going to talk to the president of the New Zealand Naturists Federation. Let's bring her to the show right away from New Zealand, Alice Dvit. Good morning, Alice. How are you today?
Good and you.
I say good morning because it's morning for me. It's really late for you. And just to show our mutual dedication to naturism, It's about 6, 7 in the morning for me. It's after midnight for you, but we're still alive and well and enjoying it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So how's life in New Zealand? We've had people on the show before from New Zealand. We have a lot of listeners down there. I told you that in an email. You're one of the top ranked countries for listeners that we get here. So I know naturism alive and well in New Zealand, but what are your thoughts? Just in general, everything going well in New Zealand as regards naturism?
Yes, I think so. I think New Zealand is founded mostly on its clubs, and there's quite a lot of clubs for, the size of the country. And I think that's, but apart from the clubs, we also have quite a lot of beaches, and that creates quite a good, I think, base for naturism.
Okay, but even similar to how I think they do it in the UK now, you can be nude in public, right? To a degree, you can walk around your front yard or even drive nude without any legal implications.
Yes, in New Zealand, it is legal to be nude as long as you don't do it with the intent to offend. So that is tricky. For example, if you were on a very busy beach and you're walking up and down nude, that might be seen as trying with the, being nude with the intent to offend. Whereas if you're just sitting there, quiet spot, minding your own business, sunbathing, you won't be doing it with the intent to offend someone.
Now, out of curiosity, who would make that decision? Is it defined in the law, or does the person who sees you nude say, I'm not offended at all, or my goodness, I'm offended beyond belief? How does that come to be in your view?
That's a tricky question. It would only be if someone technically made a complaint or they contacted the police or something like that. However, we have had legal cases about that, and they were not successful in trying to prove that it was done with the intent to offend. So it's the intent has to be there, and but it would only be in the case if someone did complain. But Kiwis are overall quite chilled and relaxed. Especially a lot of our beaches are fairly quiet beaches. You won't get beaches that are really packed, really, really busy. So it's probably easier on our beaches to be able to be nude without offending a lot of people.
Okay. We have one listener who writes into us a lot from New Zealand. And he always, wherever he goes in his car, he's always nude. He always drives clothes free. And one time he was coming home and he had to stop and recharge his car. I guess it's an electric car of some sort, either a hybrid or fully electric, I'm not sure. But he had to stop off at a charging station. And of course, he's nude. He gets out of his car. He's alone, nobody around. Starts charging his car. Two other cars pull up. One was driven by a man with clothes on. One was driven by a woman, clothes on. He thought, oh, well, whatever. I'm in New Zealand. And he said both of them eventually came up to him and started talking. It was a very pleasant conversation, as though nobody even noticed that he was clothes free. And maybe that's the best way to go, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like Kiwis. I mean, it's, most people, are very laid back and, not too fussed.
Well, that's the way it should be. I can tell you for sure, 99% of the time, if that happened in the USA, it would not end that way. I guess sometimes it does, but for the most part, a phone call will be made to the police. They'd be showing up, and here we go, off to the races. Because, how dare you be clothes free outside the way you were born? How dare you do that? And it's a big circus. I'm glad you guys have things in gear and in order in New Zealand. You can actually charge your car while you're nude. No problem, right?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that. But I mean, that's totally, to each to his own. And if that doesn't offend anyone, then who cares?
Yeah, and especially, when he pulled off to charge the car initially, there was nobody there. It's a road kind of in the middle of nowhere with a charging station. When he pulled off, nobody's there. Oh, well, I'm nude. I'll just hop out and charge the car up. It's when the other people showed up. So clearly there was no intent to offend. There was nobody to offend, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, good. I'm glad you have it together. Now, a little bit on your background, Alice. We're talking to Alice Dvit, the president of the New Zealand Naturists Federation. You were originally born and raised in South Africa. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then at some point, you and your husband, family, migrated to New Zealand, and that was because of the crime increase in South Africa, as I understand?
Yeah, it was mainly to do with the crime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is naturism alive and well in South Africa or not necessarily?
I would definitely say that it is. There's quite a few resorts in South Africa. Unfortunately, we didn't get to go to all the places in South Africa. We only went to one resort, one naturist resort, before we immigrated here. But I would say that naturism is definitely alive and well in South Africa. There's some really stunning resorts. There's even, I think they organize groups to go to beaches. It's probably a slightly different setup because they have resorts as opposed to clubs that we have in New Zealand. It's more or less the same thing.
Okay, well, very good. Now, I also heard you say on a recent interview, I think it was a radio interview, possibly a TV interview in New Zealand, you were always nude in the home, but you didn't know that you were a naturist, didn't consider yourself to be a naturist. It's my house. I have no clothes on. Well, what's for dinner? When did you discover, hey, wait a minute, I guess I'm what they call a naturist?
A friend of mine who's a photographer, he mentioned to me one day, he said, well, to both of us, myself and my husband, and he said, look, don't take this the wrong way, but have you guys heard of something called naturism? And I think that might really suit you because you basically are naturists already. And I said, oh, what's that? And then he explained it, and I said, yeah, that's pretty much our lifestyle. And he told us, look, just do a search for some naturist resorts, and that's how we went to our first naturist resort in South Africa, which was called Harmony. And we just loved it. And we just didn't know there was actually a community of people doing this, which was fantastic when we discovered it.
Yeah. Well, I was allowed to be clothes free my entire childhood. I've told that story on the show before. I didn't know I was a nudist, and certainly had never even heard the term naturist. The term naturist in the USA is not as big as it is around the world. And it wasn't until I was, I think in my 20s, somebody said, oh, you're a nudist, right? I thought, well, no, not that I know of. And I said, oh, no, you are, because you're always clothes free. Oh, okay. So when you said, I was always nude in the home, didn't know I was a naturist, it makes perfect sense because, it's kind of a label. You're not thinking, I'm Alice, I'm a naturist, I'm good to go. You're just thinking, I'm Alice, it's my house. Here's another nice day, right?
Yeah, exactly. And even with our son, I don't really like putting a label on it. I don't specifically tell him, oh, we're naturists, because I would rather want him to think this is completely normal and this is just part of who we are, as opposed to putting a label on it that, okay, we're naturists and therefore we do this and that. Well, we just are who we are.
How does that work now with your son? I can tell you what happens in the USA. We have naturist families here, and they live nude, they swim in their backyard nude. But when they go to a friend's house, the kids are told, now you have to wear a bathing suit and you have to keep it on. And that gets a little confusing for a kid. Like, wait a minute, why different rules in different houses? How does it work in New Zealand? Similarly or not necessarily?
It is very tricky. Going to someone's home with their private pool, I don't know, it may depend on the people themselves.
Right.
If you went to the beach, that's not a big deal. My son still swims nude at the beach. If you go to, for example, a public pool, then they have to wear bathing suits. So it is confusing for the kids. My son has sort of figured out that, when he's at the club or when he's at the beach, he can swim nude. When he's at a public pool, he has to wear togs. He's just sort of figured that out, and he doesn't actually ask too many questions about it. He's just accepted that.
Well, good. Sounds like a very mature young man, even though he's just a little kid still. He's already matured beyond what some adults are, it sounds like. You guys are doing something right. So at some point you made your way to New Zealand, and I'm not sure what happened from the day you set foot in New Zealand until now, but somehow, some way, you became the president of the New Zealand Naturists Federation. So how in the world did all of that happen?
I think it first started when I became secretary at my club, at Auckland Outdoor Naturist Club.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I got involved on the committee and volunteering, that was about 5 years ago when I started as secretary there. And then, a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, I went on the internet as the marketing manager for 2 years. And Then I was the social media coordinator. I also did editing for the newsletter. Being the president wasn't exactly on my immediate plans, but I was approached on that last year, close to the AGM, because the previous president could not continue because of health reasons.
Mm-hmm.
He could not run again. And I thought to myself, well, look, this is probably the next natural step I need to take. And if I don't put up my hand, I will never know if I didn't give it my best shot. So, and I believe everything happens for a reason. So I put up my hand for the role, and here I am.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you just know. There's that moment in time where, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, as opposed to nobody is supporting me. I have no desire to do this, but what the heck, I'll do it anyway. Well, that's ridiculous. We don't need those people running anything. But you had that moment where you realized, you know what, I'm supposed to do this. The group needs me now. I'm the person to be selected for now, and we'll see how this goes. But for whatever reason, I'm the gal who's doing this, right? You kind of had that feeling?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I also think each president offers something different.
Mm-hmm.
So each president will offer their own personality. They have their own focus and their own talents. And that's basically what you want. You want variety. You want different presidents to step up because they will offer different things. And we each offer what we are good at.
That's what it always is in any organization. When you change the leadership,
Yes.
there should be a change in whatever the organization is doing. And every job I've ever had, and on the show I've talked before, but about I was always, after a certain age, I was always the head guy. I was the lead dude, as they say. And oftentimes I was brought in for the sole purpose of making massive changes. I had a reputation of I could do that and not worry about, getting knocked in the head or beaten up in the alley, parking lot or whatever. And I'm just kidding. Nobody ever beat me up. But I was okay to do that because we want to do the right thing and make it better for everybody.
Yes.
But there was one job I had, I got the job, and the boss called me and he said, now I know what your reputation is. Your reputation is to go in there and turn the place around and make it better. I said, well, yeah. I said, that's why you brought me in, right? He said, no, not at all. He said, I want you to keep everything exactly as it is. He said, if you find one or two things here or there you can tweak, go for it. But we think the organization is pretty good, and the people who work there think they're pretty good too. So don't go in there and start messing things, not messing things up, but don't start messing with things because they're going to get ticked off. That, well, that's going to be a different role for me. And I went in there and just did what he said. And actually it worked out. And when I did see some things that really needed changing, I had more credibility. Like, okay, this guy's kind of stayed out of our business. He's noticed a few things. He's probably right, and let's give him a shot. And everything was successful. But for the most part, just like you found out, a new president comes in, there are changes to be made, whether they're subtle, minor, major. That all depends on the time and the people and everything else going on. Anything in particular or specific that you have done or you're looking to do to improve life for the New Zealand Naturists Federation?
Well, because I was in marketing for 2 years, I'm quite passionate about marketing for naturism, especially trying to appeal to the normal person on the street. You want to appeal to people and show them that this is normal, this is not weird, this is not creepy. And I have a particular passion for trying to get the younger generation and families to just understand that naturism is actually very family friendly. It's a great place to take your kids. It's a great place for anyone of any age to go. It shouldn't be limited to any age category or any category whatsoever. And it's not weird or creepy or anything like that. It's not X-rated. To me, that I'm quite passionate to try and get that message across. And I'm hoping that by me being in this role will help people to understand, oh, look, well, she has a young son and it works for them. It's not just for certain age group or certain this or certain that. And
that is one of the stigmas out there. It's adults only. So, keep the kids away, which is the antithesis of what naturism is all about. And I read somewhere where you joined a club, and maybe it's the club you're in now, I'm not sure, but you were the only family, or there were very few families, and now there are lots of families there, right?
Yes, the club where I'm a member at, Auckland Naturist Club, was only a few families when we joined. And now there's quite a lot of families now, because it's the thing, if there are already a few families and more families come and visit, they go, oh, okay, there are families here. So it's quite a nice environment. But if there's no families around, they will think, oh, what's this place? Okay, there's no families here.
Yeah.
So you need a few families there in order to try and bring in more families.
Yeah. So those would be your two main points right now, and obviously subject to change depending on what happens in the world and New Zealand and so on, but trying to bring younger people in, but also trying to bring families in.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. That's one of the issues we have in the USA is the younger folks, although we're finding the younger folks are accepting and adopting naturism more and more and more, as long as they have something to do. They're not going to go to a club and just sit there all day or play shuffleboard and go home.
Yeah.
And they want to be active. They want to have a volleyball game or whatever a game they want to do. Maybe something competitive like a 5K race, and then swim a little bit. And so different clubs are working on that. And we don't have I don't know how many nude beaches you have. You said you have them all over the place. We don't, obviously. We have some. I wish we had more, but that's a different story altogether, because then you just go if you want to and you can do whatever you want. What do you find in terms of the beaches in New Zealand? Are they literally all over the place, all of the coast, or is every beach a nude beach if you take your clothes off? Kind of a strange question, but I think you know what I mean. There's no such thing as a beach where you must have clothing on. Is that a fair question?
So there's a few beaches that probably would be classified as nudist beaches in New Zealand.
Okay.
And if you go there, you will see a group of people nude, depending on the crowd there that day. Some of the beaches have really nice crowds, and like, for example, Little Palm Beach on Waiheke Island. It's a wonderful place to go. That is basically a nude beach. So you go there and there's always nudists on the beach. And there's always a wonderful atmosphere, and yeah, that's very pleasant. Any other beach that you go to, technically you can be nude on the beach if you're not, going around trying to really go out of your way offending people.
Right.
It's a fine line. I'd say if you're going to a beach that's fairly quiet. I know a lot of people who literally, they don't call themselves nudists, but they go to a quiet beach, take their clothes off, go for a nude swim, and put their clothes back on and whatever, but they just strip off at any beach where it's quiet and go for a swim. So, but you won't see that often. It's probably not the same as in Europe, I'd say. So you won't walk around on the beach and see a whole lot of nude people on any beach. You won't really see that. For example, the beach, I live on the coast, but there's no official nude beaches where I live. But I will often go to a quiet spot because I know where the quiet spots are, and then I'll just strip off and have a nice, sit in the sun and go for a swim. So for me, it is a nude beach, but it's not technically a nude beach, and there's technically not other nudists there. But
right. You made it your own private nude beach for a few moments or a few hours.
Yeah. And I think that's maybe what a lot of Kiwis do.
We have much the same here. I'm right on the coast, the Atlantic Ocean in Florida in the USA. And obviously the beach goes the whole length of Florida. And there are designated nude beaches along the way. I think there are 3, maybe 4, I sometimes lose count. But with all those hundreds of miles of beaches, there's a lot of places that are desolate. And if you know where they're at, and they're pretty easy to find, you just drive and park your car somewhere, go down, you'll be totally alone. And if anybody is coming your way, you'll see them a mile up or down the beach. Oh, there's somebody coming. I better cover up just in case. And so it's a very pleasant experience that way, too. Now, that's not the whole socialization of naturism. You're not hanging around 50 or 100 people. You're hanging by yourself or with your friends or family, whoever went with you. But that's fine, too, right? As long as you're clothes-free and enjoying the day, terrific job, at least in my book, and I think you agree.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I go to the beach, I probably go to have a bit of quiet time.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm not a naturist. I still enjoy going nude in the water. But when I go to a club, for example, a naturist club, I go there mainly to socialize, and I enjoy the social element to that. But in both instances, I enjoy being a naturist as well. So, yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. Well, you talked about back in South Africa, you were always nude in the house. And the question I wanted to ask before, but we got into something else, was how did that come to be? Were you nude as a kid and as a teenager and as a young adult, or was it only after you got your own place or got married that you just started living clothes free?
I don't know. That's a good question. I wasn't really. I grew up in a fairly conservative home, so naturism wasn't introduced to me at a young age, or as a teenager. It was only later in my life, because I started photography and also did a little bit of modeling on the side. And maybe it was through that because when I started photographing some people, I thought, well, why would you photograph just people with their clothes on? Because, it's like their body's the entire being who they are. So I started photographing some people, artistic nudes or whatever, not, anything too strange, but just, artistic nudes or this and that. And maybe that's how I sort of started seeing the human body as, it's just a human body, and that's how we all look under our clothes. It's, I think that's how the idea of naturism, that's how I started becoming a naturist without realizing it.
Okay. Well, yeah, it actually makes sense. There's also something I've noticed within the creative community, and you're a photographer. I do want to talk about that in just a moment. I'm on the creative end, mostly a musician, but obviously also the radio thing. I was on terrestrial radio for a long time and doing this now. And I've done a bit of writing, but I know a lot of artists and people who work in ceramics and you name it. I know a lot of artistic people. They tend to flock more to naturism than somebody in a three-piece suit or a business dress in corporate America or corporate New Zealand. Why is that, do you think? Why do creative people just in general, it's a general statement, why do we enjoy living clothes-free more than the average person, do you think?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Maybe you sort of, if you're artistically inclined, you're sort of thinking of freeing your mind and thinking out of the box.
Yeah.
But having said that, I know a lot of naturists who are not artistic necessarily. They probably, they accountants or they technical, but they still, have that notion of naturism. But maybe people who are artistically inclined might be slightly more open-minded. I don't know. It's very difficult to generalize.
It is. Maybe it's more in tune with ourselves and more in tune with the world around us, perhaps.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that probably could be, yeah.
When I go in the recording studio, and it's been a couple of years since I've done this, to actually record music, I have some CDs out there and all that good stuff. If I can be clothes free, I notice I am more creative. Like the ideas just flow a whole lot better when I'm clothes free. Now, obviously, I can't do that if there are 10 people with their clothes on in the studio. It's, when I'm alone or maybe with one other person. But there's something to that, too. I haven't figured it out yet, and maybe we'll do an intensive study down the road. But when we're clothes free and we're creative people, we create even better when we're clothes free. Do you agree with that?
That makes sense. Yes, yeah. I think that is definitely true. I think, yeah.
All right. We are talking to Alice Dvit, the president of the New Zealand Naturists Federation. And Alice, if people want to get a hold of you or find out more about the New Zealand Naturists Federation, how do they go about that?
They can go to our website, the New Zealand website, which is called gonatural.co.nz. And my contact details are on there, which was president@nznf.nz.
Yep. And your photo is on there as well. And for the Americans, I'll repeat that because you said something at the end. You said Z, and we don't use that here. I wish we did because everybody else does.
Oh.
It's gonatural.co.nz, right?
Yes, that's right.
Or .nz, as you say. And right above us in the USA is the country of Canada, and they use Z. I don't know why we don't. I don't know why they do, but it'd just be great if we can get our action gear and just use the same terminology. Wouldn't it be nice?
Yes, that would be good.
Well, tell us a little, before we get back to the New Zealand Naturists Federation and your affiliation with the International Naturists Federation. Before we get back to that, tell us a little bit about your photography. Is this something you do as a career? Is it something you do as a hobby? Just tell us a little bit about yourself in that field.
It started as a hobby because, I had to build up experience. And then I started photographing friends and a few people who wanted to be photographed. And then after a few years, it developed into a career. So, and then I did photography that are slightly a bit more uncommon, like I say, artistic nudes or photographs of ladies who maybe wanted to surprise their partners or vice versa. Pregnant ladies who wanted artistic nude photos, that sort of thing. Couples, people who just wanted to be photographed, without any clothes, but in a very nice artistic sense.
Right.
So I did that for quite a few years. I also did wedding photography. Yes, I did a bit of this and that in the photography. I did a little bit of modeling as well on the side, but that was mainly to help me to understand what it feels like for the other person when I'm photographing them. That gives you a different perspective. Otherwise, you can't really understand it from their point of view.
That's a very good point. Nude modeling or not necessarily?
Yes, I did a bit of nude modeling, but it was only, very specific, just artistic nudes for photographers who needed something for, specifically artistic nudes or something like that.
The very terrific Alice Dvit, the current president for the New Zealand Naturists Federation. She works very hard down there, pulling people in and getting things done, and we appreciate Alice Dvit very much. And on next week's show, which will be episode 103, part 2 of my interview with Alice Dvit from the New Zealand Naturists Federation. And before we head for the hills for the week, let's bring back our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Welcome back.
And it's good to be back. What a great interview. I can't wait to hear the second part of this.
Yeah, she's really good. And they have their axe and gear in New Zealand when it comes to nudism, naturism. It's just, let's enjoy life and let's go to the beach and have a good time. And without all the junk we not sometimes have to put up with, almost always have to put up with, right?
Absolutely. And it's just, it's very sad that they can be so free when we have to be so careful. And but I think some of the happiest naturists that I have ever come across are coming from New Zealand, because I think it's just so gorgeous. How would you not want to live there? So, and to be naked and live there is amazing.
Yeah. Australia is very much the same, but New Zealand has it a little more in gear for whatever reason, just a different way of living, different mindset, different way that people came together, I guess.
I think so. And I don't know, there's a different mindset, I think, between the people I've met from Australia and from New Zealand. The Australians are fabulous. They're fun loving and upbeat and just delightful. But there's a certain kind of difference to the New Zealanders that just, or Kiwis, I guess they call themselves, that just makes them a tad different and a lot of fun. I really enjoy their outlook.
Yeah. Well, they had for a long time in New Zealand, it might still be the case, educationally, they were at the top of the game in the entire world with literacy, especially reading and writing. And they would have consultants travel all over the world to present what everybody else should have known, but they didn't. But the New Zealand people got it, and they get so many things. So I can't wait till next week, and we'll hear from Alice again. How about that?
I can't wait either. She's delightful.
All right. Well, with that, Lisa Monroe, let's pack it in for a week and go out there and have a great clothes-free week, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, you too, Frank, and everyone else have a wonderful, naked, clothes-free week.
All right. Sounds good. Well, you've been listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 102 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked Nudists and Naturists.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked Nudists and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.